Hello artists, we're back for another short, quick, inspirational video in Photoshop, this time on lighting effects and specifically related to rendering lighting effects. There's going to be a lot of play today. I'm going to kind of open the dialog box for you, show you where it's at, and just literally just let you play with an image. Even more so than the depth of field, this one is kind of hard to figure it out. Mainly because with this specific technique in Photoshop, it requires a lot of RAM and a high capacity vid card, and these computers are just, they're okay. So you have to be patient. It does take some time for the effects to take effect in Photoshop, and so if you start clicking too much, it's very easy to get frustrated because it's just, the computer is going to be slow with doing this. All right, so take a deep breath. Here we go. I'm going to want you to start by navigating to the digital image archive. We're going to open up a specific picture. So we're going to go to Art, Digital Image Archive, and we're going to open up the Nature folder. And in there, if you scroll towards the bottom, there is a file called Pink. I want you to open up that Pink file. It should look like this. Remember, we're going to save this in your Lessons folder, in the cloud. Again, put your first name, and let's call this lighting, and click save. All right, so I'm just going to show you two lighting effects here. The first one, very frustrating. The second one, way easier and way more fun. So let's start with the frustrating first one. Let's get that out of the way. So we're going to go to Filter, and we're going to go to Render Lighting Effects, and a dialog box is going to pop up over here to the right hand side. So from here on out right now, do everything really slowly, click and then wait a little bit, click and wait a little bit, because it takes a long time for the computer to apply these effects. So we're going to, up here to the right in your properties panel for the lighting effects, we're going to change it from spot to point, and we're just doing that simply because the spot effect is really difficult for the computer to do. It's heavy lifting. It strains the computer. The point is a little bit easier. So you'll even see when I switch from that spot to point, it took a while for the computer to do that. All right, so with this is, obviously you have your center dial, you can move it. So I want you to watch how slowly this works. I'm gonna click and I'm dragging right now. I'm gonna release and let it sit, because it's gonna take that long for the computer to move that circle up. So you're going to see it takes a while here. I'm sitting and waiting. Okay, now that I said that, maybe I didn't move it up. Now it's really moving that slowly. There we go. Now it moved. See how slow? I mean, it's slow. So if it doesn't do it right away, don't freak out. Okay. So it does what it sounds like. It kind of, just like the depth of field, it kind of focus on an area. It's doing that, but instead of by blurring, it's doing it by value. So it's making everything outside that circle darker. So I can, just like with the other one, I can increase the intensity, but again, it takes a long time for this to work. You have to do it in the dial, or in the slider, just like before. But notice that took a while to take effect. Okay, once you kind of get it going, it works a little bit better. You can also change the scale. So this is what's tricky. So you have to hover on that little green circle until it turns yellow, and then click to activate it as scale, and then you can click and pull. Oh, come on. Let's try that again. There we go. So I can make it bigger or smaller. And again, I can still take my intensity up or down. If you are brave and later on, if you want to try looking at the other ones, which is the spot, and then there's an infinite one, but they're relatively frustrating. You can colorize your point effect. So if I wanted to like kind of tint it a color, you can try. It doesn't always work great. You can see it changed it a little bit there, but again, you can go ahead and try that. When you're happy, go ahead and click OK. And again, you saw it even took a little bit for that computer to to do that command. All right, the next one is the lens flare. Lens flare is really, really fun. It's really easy to overuse because it is so fun. Just be careful. You don't want to slap a lens flare on everything. It's so tempting to do because it's just so fun, but just don't do it all the time. All right, but I'm going to show it to you because sometimes it is fun. So what a lens flare is it's actually a distortion in a camera. So when a camera takes a photo, light is coming in through the lens, and the light is actually kind of bouncing around. Well, sometimes if the light comes in at just the right angle, that light will bounce around and create these like casted reflections, and so you get these like glowing orbs. It often happens when you're shooting like right into a direct light. You'll get that because it's so strong, it's kind of ping-ponging around inside the lens. And what this lens flare filter does is it adds it artificially. Most of the time when it happens to a camera and you're taking the photo, you don't even see it until after you take the photo, and then you're like, oh, sometimes it's really charming because it's actually an error. It's a fault. It's like a happy little accident that it can be really charming to a photo, but they're hard to control because you can't control where it is. In Photoshop, you can control where those little orbs of light go. So you go to Filter, Render, and we go to Lens Flare. And there is a dialog box that pops up. There's some different types of a lens flare, and you can play around with these today. You've got the 50 to 300 millimeter, and what these are is they're just different types of lenses that you would have out on camera that result in different types of lens flares. The problem with this is it doesn't show you a preview in real time, so you get this little teeny tiny image, but you can see there's an orb there. I can move it around. So if you look really close, I can move where this is. The most popular, most common is that 50 to 300 millimeter one, but you can try the 35 millimeter. It just gives you a different kind of effect, different kind of orbs. The 105 gives you like a crosshair, kind of like a starburst. The movie one is really kind of out there, but it's an option. So I just want you to click on one of these. You can make it brighter or less, and then move it where you want, kind of look where your orbs are, and then simply click OK. And that's it. That's your lighting effects, the point, and lens flare. Have some fun. Try it on a couple of different pictures if you want, and I'll see you back here for the next short video.